Welcome back into the Rounding Third podcast. I'm Nick. We got Harrison and Sean tonight. How we doing, fellas?
Good boys. How we doing?
Not too bad. Not too bad. All right. Before we get going, make sure you follow us and like us on Facebook. You can share our posts. You can share our questions of the week. You can also subscribe on YouTube. And also you can listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. All right. Leading off tonight, let's talk about the big guy that finally made his entrance into the MLB, Elly De La Cruz. This kid hits from both sides of the plate. He's like, what? He's got to be O'Neal build. He's like 6'6", 6'7".
Yeah, another big boy.
Yeah.
And he starts off with his first major league hit, which was an absolute torched double into the right center gap. They said it was the hardest hit that a Cincinnati Red had hit this season, and it was just happened to be his first major league hit. Crazy.
Yeah, he's 6'5", Nick. Another big boy.
6'5". This dude has wheels too. So he gets up in his second game and hits a triple. Or it might have been his first game. Did he triple in the first or the second game? Either way.
Triple,
whatever.
second game. Same game as the home run.
Second game.
Yep. And he gets from home to third in under 10.5 seconds.
It looked like it took 7 strides.
Yeah.
It was crazy. It looked like 7 strides, and he was diving headfirst into third.
I literally posted on one of those highlight pages. They're showing the clip. Like, it literally looked like it took the guy 3 steps to get from first to second. Like, when you watch it full speed, like I don't even see his feet hit the ground. Like he takes the longest strides I've ever seen.
The Cincinnati Reds, like their own like Twitter account, they posted the video of him running. So he hit it as a lefty, and it was him running from the left-handed box to third base. But it was like the weird angle from it was almost like it was ground level in the dugout. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was like that weird, and it was weird optical illusion. He got there so fast. Like in my brain, I was like, is that on a Little League field? Like, how did he get so fast around? It was so weird because it was so close, but a weird angle. It literally looked like it was a Little League field.
Yeah.
Crazy.
This guy looks like he could be O'Neal Cruz's like cousin, little brother, like, and another guy, 6'5", playing shortstop, playing third base. Just a massive human, massive wingspan, long legs. Totally. He and O'Neal Cruz are like a whole new model of baseball player.
Yeah, I don't know if I can get from home to first in 10.5 seconds, let alone home to third. Like
I can't drive as fast as that guy was running. I mean, he was flying.
My God,
he was flying. It was incredible.
I wish I had the optics. I'm sure we could look it up somewhere to see how many more eyeballs automatically went to the Cincinnati Reds this last week.
Well,
I tuned into some games. I was automatically in. I was like, "Yep,
yeah,
I got to watch this guy."
I've been watching them a little bit because I do enjoy the young core they've got, but when he started picking up headlines here a few weeks ago, and you had the other young guy hit the walk-off home run, like there's been so many good things in Cincinnati to watch and follow, which Cincinnati's been irrelevant for a long time. I mean, again, like the Pirates, like the Diamondbacks, like teams that were just not worth watching for so many years. All of a sudden, that young group is really starting to play well together, and they're fun to watch. They're fun to watch. The Pirates are fun to watch. The Diamondbacks are fun to watch. Like, and De La Cruz is like instant energy. He's added instant energy to that team, that ballpark. It's a different environment.
That ball he hit for a home run in his second game, 458 feet. He hit it in the last row of seats in the right center field. Like, it almost left the Great American Ballpark. Like, it was close. I think there's a chain link fence there. I don't think it could have left necessarily, but I mean, insane. But a kid got it, which was really cool. Kid got the ball, and then I don't know if you saw it, but he met Elly De La Cruz down in the clubhouse after, and De La Cruz signed a whole bunch of stuff for him, and the kid traded the ball in exchange. So that was
the best part of the whole thing was he didn't just exchange it for himself. He got all his boys' stuff.
Right.
So he wouldn't give the home run ball back until the Reds like agreed to not just like give him stuff. he got all his boys to be able
Yep.
to come into the clubhouse, and they took like a group photo, and like they all held up their merch, and like De La Cruz finally got his ball. It was like, it was the ultimate like for the boys moment. It was awesome.
Yeah. It was so good. It was
so
classic.
cool.
It was
And
awesome.
and it was a younger kid, right? It was like probably teens, like
I would say I was gonna say like
late teens.
like late high school, early college age.
Yeah. But yeah, it was pretty cool. But
The only thing better than the
man.
home run was the call on the home run.
When I saw the video, real quick though, when I saw that video get like posted, and I'm like, you know, you knew he was gonna get the ball somehow, and it was just the kid with like 9 of his boys, and they all had like their own piece of merch. I was like, this kid's my hero. Like, what a move!
Oh, yeah.
That's
It's
fantastic.
so good. But yeah, the call, Harrison.
Yeah, the only thing better than the home run was the call when you got the announcer screaming that ball had a family, and I mean that thing was the sound of contact was loud. That thing had a vapor trail on it. I mean, I can't remember the last time I saw a ball hit that hard, like that viciously, and the call on it was perfect.
I mean, you could hear the ball going through the air through the TV. That's how hard he hit it.
Yeah, that's one of those balls that like sizzles as it goes overhead. Like you just hear this.
Yeah.
It goes.
It's funny. Probably the first thing. First thing I should say after you see it and you hear it and you're like, oh my God, that ball was torched. And then the first thing right after that went through my head was, I think Syndergaard still thinks he has 97 up in the zone. That was 92 in straight. Like, what are you like? You can't leave that there.
No, Noah Syndergaard 5 years ago gets away with that pitch. Noah Syndergaard today does not.
Yeah,
2023 Noah Syndergaard can't throw that pitch.
No,
dude,
no.
That ball was shoulder high, and he just said thanks for coming and just sent it into orbit. That was insane.
It's crazy. This guy's super talented. He is going to be fun to watch for a while.
Mitch goes, how far did it go? I saw the apex of 143 height wise. It went 458.
Yeah.
So I mean,
458 or 468.
I saw 458.
458. Okay,
that's what I saw.
So just a shade under 460. Yeah, I mean, the ball was torched.
He would have gotten 30 seconds bonus time.
Yeah, and Mitch is right. That thing did not get a lot of height. I mean, it was just a missile. You could have hung laundry on that rope.
Crazy.
I mean, honestly, I was trying to rack my brain going into this week. The only ball I've ever seen in that stadium hit farther was an Adam Dunn home run, and I think that's it. And not that I religiously watch Cincinnati Reds games, so I'm not gonna. But I mean, that has to be up there for one of the longest home runs ever hit in that ballpark.
Yeah, Adam Dunn used to wear out the Ohio River there. Like
Adam Dunn hit a couple out.
Yeah, like
I mean,
long
he
gone.
was. Yeah,
He's probably the reason for that chain link fence, because there's a road right behind that runs behind.
He was National League Doug Mirabelli. It was either a moonshot or a strikeout. That's what Adam Dunn was.
Well, and I remember, Griffey hit a couple there that were deep, and they were only like 2/3 the way up the bleachers. I mean, De La Cruz's was all the way to the back.
It was crazy,
insane. Well, speaking about crushing things, Aaron Judge in Los Angeles this week. Makes a great play going back on the ball into the wall, crashes into the golf cart gate, busts it wide open, and stubs his poor little toe.
Yeah.
And he is now on the IL for 10 days.
Yeah. Nick has zero empathy for toe injuries, for the record.
I mean, it kind of made me go down this little rabbit hole, because I was wondering about how much time guys spent on the field during their contract years versus going on the IL all the time. Giancarlo Stanton, Aaron Judge. And these are all recent guys that I did a little bit of research on, so stick with me. So Aaron Judge in his contract year, 157 games, most of his career. Signs a big deal, goes back to New York. Dansby Swanson, 162 games, his contract year, signs with the Cubs. Bryce Harper, 159 games with the Nationals, signs with the Phillies. Carlos Correa, this was the second most of his career, 148 games. And then he goes to the Twins, and then the Giants, and then the Mets, and then the Twins. Anyways. And then Carlos Rodon made 31 career starts in San Francisco, signs a big ticket with the Yankees, hasn't been on the field since. Giancarlo Stanton, 159 games with the Miami Marlins before traded to the Yankees. And then Robbie Ray, 32 games, most of his career with the Blue Jays, won the Cy Young, and then went to Seattle. And now the second most games of these guys, usually most of the time, in most instances, were the first year in their new spots, and then the games go way, way down. Like they trend off in both directions, like before their contract year and after their contract year. So that's just me kind of being curious. And I'm just wondering with
being
you
a
guys,
conspiracy theorist?
like sort of, I guess, but is it teams protecting their investment for the long term? Is it players playing through injury to get the games played for that contract? Is it a combination of both? Or is it teams just being like, yeah, well, we don't really care because you're not going to re-sign with us? What do we think?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think when you hand somebody a massive contract like that, I think you tend to look at the nicks and scrapes a little differently. Maybe it's worth giving a guy a few games off or a week off or 2 weeks off if he's a little banged up, versus in a contract year, you don't know if he's coming back. They likely play through more things, don't mention some things. You've got teams that are like, well, if you don't come back, we'll get everything we can out of you this year. You haven't made that investment yet. I think there's a lot of things there, but I think with pitchers, it's a little bit different. I think teams tend to control the workload of a pitcher a little bit differently than a position player. So I think pitchers tend to get maybe babied a little bit more when they've signed that big deal. I think position players, it's typically, if you can play, you go. If you can't, you don't. And you've kind of got to tell us where you're at. And that's why you've got a training staff and a strength and conditioning staff and all these people there to help guide you through it. But I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, probably. I think it's interesting though, Nick, the players and teams that you mentioned, right? The big players that sign big tickets, whether it's with New York or Minnesota or Houston, wherever. Those teams are paying these guys to come in and be a difference maker to win a championship. That's why they're getting the money. That's why they're getting the big money, the big years is if they're not being responsible for bringing a championship, then that contract is going to be looked at and say that, failed in a sense, right?
Yeah.
So I think the players look at it differently, and the players are like, listen, I need a little time to get over this injury. And I know we can joke about Aaron Judge with the toe and all that, but like turf toe can linger, man. I mean, like that's not something that like you just shake off. I don't know if you guys have had it. It's like it's insanely painful and it lingers if you don't take care of it. And so if you're the Yankees looking at it, I mean, we've talked for 2 years. I mean, I don't need to get on my Boone's. It's only 13 minutes in. I'm not going to get going on Boone yet. But like, we've
never
been saying
too early,
for 2
Sean.
years, man. We've been saying for 2 years, the Yankees are not an effective, good baseball team when Aaron Judge isn't on the field.
Yep.
They're just not. And he covers up a lot of sins. Tom Brady with the Patriots covered up a lot of sins.
Yep.
Aaron Judge covers up a lot of sins for the New York Yankees. And if I'm the Yankees, I know that. These guys aren't stupid. Cashman's not stupid. And I think they look at it and they go, you know what? Putting him on the 10, 15, 20-day injured list in May and June is worth it if he can come back and be healthy for the stretch run in August, September, and October. Because that's why you have Aaron Judge. I mean, your only shot, if you're the Yankees, your legitimate only shot in making noise in the playoffs and going deep is if that guy is as healthy as possible, playing good baseball. It's literally the only shot you have.
Yeah.
So I think, I guess it's my long answer, but I think a lot of it is kind of a mishmash between both. I think the players understand how important they are to their teams in the deep playoff run. I think the teams understand it. I think they probably both sit down and go, you know what? Is it worth you having an extra 12 at-bats in June? Or let's not worry about it. Let's not worry about it now. Let's go ahead. Take 10 days. Take 15 days. Make sure you're healthy. Make sure it's fully gone. Make sure it's not lingered. And if he needs to do another 10, 15 days, they'll do another 10, 15 days.
Yeah. And I do think you're right, Sean. There's kind of a strategic component to this where, you might push Aaron Judge a little harder in September if you're trying to make a playoff push
Right.
than you're going to in June. When you're confident you're still going to be there, and him being healthy is a big reason, a big reason of how you're going to be successful in the postseason. So resting now, when you're confident that you'll still be around, I think is different than if you're a fringe team or you're deeper in the season. I do think that, standings and time of season may dictate a little bit about how you play that.
Oh, no question. And I'll say this, and I know this is probably, I'm sure there are Yankee fans out there that are going to tell me that this is a ridiculous thing to say, but I'll stand by it. And I would say it if the roles were reversed, if the Red Sox were in the position that the Yankees are in and the Yankees are in the position the Red Sox are in. No Yankee fan is going to sit there and say that they're okay with losing 2 out of 3 to the Red Sox.
No.
And I get that. That's what makes you a fan. Then that's fine. But to a man, I can almost guarantee you everyone in that Yankees locker room was going, yeah, it sucks that we lost 2 out of 3, but like, who cares with where we are in the standings? And as long as we can get guys healthy, like, who cares? Like, fine, it sucks. Like, we didn't play the Red Sox until June. They came into New York and the pitchers pitched really well for the Red Sox, all 3 games. They pitched really well, the starting pitching. And, the Yankees lineup did not look good at all. And a big piece of it was missing in Aaron Judge. And it sucks. But, like, dude, who's going to have the last laugh? It's not going to be the Red Sox. Like, so it's fine. Like, it's not that big a deal. Like, fine. Losing 2 out of 3 to your rivals, like, no one wants to see that. But it for now, like, go ahead, man. Take half of June to get healthy. I mean, shit, go till the All-Star break. Come back after the All-Star break and just be Aaron Judge again. I mean, before he got hurt, man, he was like on pace again to hit 60 home runs. The guy is unbelievable.
He is. He's a freak. And I will say, the losing, to your point, Sean, losing 2 out of 3 in June, the only people that care are the fans, and it's just something to talk about on talk radio. The players left Boston last night, and they don't care. It's 2 out of 3. It's however many they've played all season. This series doesn't alter them, doesn't alter their season, doesn't change their thinking. They're on to the next one, so the players don't care. But I will say, and I'd love to get your take on it, both of you, is the Red Sox-Yankees rivalry,
I was just going to bring that up,
still a thing? Because
Yes.
the passion in those games,
Yes.
very low. The fans not that into it. I feel like because the gap between those 2 teams has widened over the last few years, I feel like it's really Yankees and Astros, and the Red Sox are just kind of there because like I was always a diehard Red Sox Yankees rivalry fan. I didn't care about these games this weekend because I just looked at them and kind of went, man, Yankees. Like the same players aren't there. Most of these guys are new. Like there's no history here anymore. It's all new faces. It's all brand new. And I feel like that rivalry, it lacks the common threads. There isn't any anymore. And so to me, I don't view this rivalry as much to talk about anymore.
The worst thing that could have happened for this rivalry is the Red Sox win 3 times in this 20-year span. That has killed the rivalry, right? I think it was Kevin Millar or one of the old-time Red Sox players said it, was the rivalry was so big because the Yankees would just come in and kick our teeth in. Like, we never won.
Yeah, little brother.
We never won. So that always, like, added fuel to the fire. It's like, we got to beat him. We got to beat him. We got to beat him. And now that it's happened, it's kind of like lost its luster to me. It's definitely, is it still a cherished rivalry? Yes, it always will be. Red Sox and Yankees have been there since the early 1900s. However, it's just not the same intensity that it was back in 03, 04. Hell, even before that, Bucky Dent and all of that stuff. Like, it's just not the same to me as it was. Is there still a little bit of a rivalry there? Sure. But it's not nearly the intense rivalry that once was. That's my view on it.
Yeah. Sean?
I mean, I still think it's there, man. I mean, yeah, no kidding. I mean, it's not Pedro and Roger Clemens and Andy Pettitte and Nomar or Xander, or like, these guys are retired and moved on, and that's what happens. I mean, like, it's over the course of generations, like, players change, there's turnover. I will admit that these Yankee teams of the past couple of years are not as hateable as like the early 2000s Yankees team. Like, I don't know. Posada just had a real punchable face. Like there was players on those teams that like I just seeing them would like my blood would boil.
Yep.
I mean, this Yankees team not as much. You know, like I like Judge. Like he seems like a good dude. You know, he's a real good baseball player. Seems like a good leader. I hate Boone, so like it that helps. Like the fact that he's their manager, like it kind of helps me keep the edge against the Yankees. I mean, I still think it's there. I agree. Like I still think in Boston, it's a rivalry. Like,
yep.
And you know, and you guys talk about how it's not like it was in 2003, 2004, which it's not, and I'm not necessarily saying that it is.
Yep.
But like, I think what added to those brutally hateful games is those were like 4-hour grinded out ball games.
They were.
Like
they were just epic battles.
Baseball has changed the rules to avoid games like that, and it just makes the Red Sox Yankees just like every other of the 162 that they play. Like that's what made the rivalry so great back then. Is not just two really good baseball teams and two fan bases and organizations that hated each other, but those games were legitimately different than every other game you played. Like when you tuned in to watch a Red Sox Yankee, it was genuinely different than watching a Red Sox Royals or Red Sox Twins or Red Sox whomever. But now it's not.
Buckle in, you're going to be there for a while.
Yeah.
But now it's not. Now it's just another game. And when the league makes it just another game, like, of course, some of the stuff is going to simmer down. But don't tell me, and you guys are crazy if you're going to sit there and tell me the rivalry is essentially dead, which were your words. They killed the rivalry, is what you guys said. 2 years ago, that one-game playoff, Red Sox-Yankees, where we just kicked in Garrett Cole's teeth. I mean, that place, Fenway came unglued. And that was because it was the Yankees. It was the Yankees. And the Yankees were supposed to be winning the World Series that year. And the Yankees went out and they signed Garrett Cole because he was the best pitcher in baseball. He was going to be the one to bring it to the Yankees for the first time since 2009. And he couldn't. And he had to get through Boston, and he couldn't get through Boston. And we kicked his teeth down his throat, and that place came unglued because it was the Yankees. So it matters. The rivalry is still there. It sucks now because the Red Sox are 500 and they're 14 whatever games out of first place. And, you know, so like that for this particular year, I think has dulled it down a little bit, but it matters. The rivalry is definitely still there.
I think I'm with you. Like it does matter where both teams are in the standings, right? So like it lays dormant, right? So it's dormant this year because neither one of them are really contending.
Well,
right?
I'll say this though too, real quick. My final piece: the league did a serious injustice by the Yankees and Red Sox not playing each other until June.
Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah.
Like if you want that rivalry to continue to be great and continue to be the best rivalry in sports, they have to play each other in April when both teams, the season is wide open. Right? Yeah. When taking 2 out of the 3 from the Yankees actually means something because, you know, there's only a handful of games played. So therefore, like you're gaining 2 games on your rival. Right. The fact that we've both played 60 games before we even saw them is a travesty.
And then we see
that's the balanced schedule. Yeah. That's,
no, I know. I mean, it's not
part of that's the balanced schedule too. Like you're gonna lose some of that rivalry feeling because you're not going to see them as often either. So I look at it as is the rivalry still going to have its moments? Sure. 2020 I think was a moment. But it used to be like Red Sox Yankees. Mark your calendar. You got to watch this game. It's going to be intense. It's going to be nuts. You never know what's going to happen because those teams had personality. Like the Yankees of the 90s and 2000s, that team had personality. They were bullies. They came in to punch your teeth in. That Red Sox team was like the jaded little brother that just wanted their shot. But you had the personalities. You had Clemens. You had Pettit. You had Jeter, who wasn't loud, but he was him. The Red Sox had guys like Millar and Varitek and Youkilis. You had A-Rod with the Yankees, who everybody in the world hates. Like those teams had personalities. You look at that Yankees team. Aaron Judge, he's a really nice guy. Stanton, don't care.
He's never on the field.
Right. Rizzo, he's a nice guy. Like he's a genuinely likable dude. Like you look at that team and you don't have the personalities that make you, except for Garrett Cole. It's a bunch of just professional baseball players. Like they don't have a personality.
Yeah.
Same with the Red Sox. I mean, the longest tenured guy is Devers. He's been here since 17. Like there's no history. There's nobody remembers those days. And this team has zero personality. Zero. And that's the thing. I don't think either of these teams has any real personality. It's a bunch of guys that have come in recently that are just there to play baseball. There's no common thread. There's no sense of a rivalry. And Fenway is not, it's not the same environment it used to be. I think at Fenway, when you go to Fenway, because tickets are so damn expensive, I think a lot of your average fans just aren't there anymore. It's a lot of corporate boxes, and I just don't think you've got the same environment in the ballpark either. Yeah, Mitch is right. Donaldson is very punchable. I would agree. That's a guy that's easy to dislike. But I don't. I look at the Yankees and I'm just kind of indifferent to them. Whereas I used to hope they lost every night. I just don't care anymore. I find myself being very
I
indifferent.
think what also is like a very big contributing factor to that is when they won all those series in the 90s, it was all the same people. Like the Yankees, like nobody left that team. Nobody came on the team. It was Bernie Williams. It was Paul O'Neill. It was Scott Brocious. It was Aaron Boone. You know what I mean? Like everybody was on that team. Jeter, A-Rod. No one left. No one came except for the two that were supposed to end up in Boston that ended up in New York. And that's Mark Teixeira and Alex Rodriguez. It's just...
Yeah. And I agree with Mitch's point. I feel like Houston's become the bigger rivalry. And like I just said, I feel like the Yankees players, like there's not as much personality. There's not guys you dislike. Like I find myself actually genuinely liking some of the Yankees players where, 10, 15 years ago, the thought of that would have made me throw up.
Well, I think a lot of that, if we look in the mirror, I think a lot of that's what Nick said. 10, 15 years ago, the Red Sox hadn't won anything. So to look at those guys on the Yankees having won all those World Series and, the obnoxious Yankee fans with the 27 rings and all that nonsense, even though like half of them were won like during all white baseballs, that shouldn't count. Like don't even get me started on that. Shouldn't count.
Yeah.
But
it's true. The Yankees haven't won anything either.
But now those tables have turned. Like now it's like, why should I put all my energy in caring if the Yankees lose?
Right.
Like it doesn't matter. I've seen the Red Sox win 3 times. And I'll say the Red Sox will probably win another one before the Yankees do because the Yankees are way too hard-headed to make any changes. They're just going to roll the same thing out year after year, and then they're going to lose in the ALCS, and then Boone's going to get rehired. So the Sox will probably win another one before the Yankees do.
I just
do it again.
I just got to share this comment real quick because someone commented on a clip of Aaron Hicks absolutely tearing it up in Baltimore.
Oh my goodness!
And I just commented and I go, it must be because he's allowed to grow out his facial hair. I was like, and seriously, just to change like that, change of scenery, like you're right, Sean. Like the Yankees are so hard-headed with that, something as silly as that it sets a precedent in your clubhouse. So
yeah, and you're probably right, Sean. A lot of my indifference probably stems from the fact the Yankees have won once in 25 years, and I just kind of look at them and go, meh. Like they're just existing,
dude. Honestly,
the Yankees of the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s were a machine, and they're just
telling
not
you
that
right
anymore.
now, Yankee fans will never admit it, but I will take it to my grave believing that the way we talk about the Yankees now is how they talked about the Red Sox for all those years that we were growing up, because the Red Sox were indifferent to them. The Red Sox meant nothing to them. Like they loved it when they would stomp on our our throats. I'll be polite. But like it wouldn't, the Red Sox bet nothing to Yankee fans. Why should they?
Right.
Even when the Red Sox had
weren't a threat.
Even when they had really good teams, the Red Sox found ways to lose in the postseason.
Yep.
And so like that's just what the Yankees are now. So it's like this is probably exactly how they felt for 20 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's fair. There's probably a lot of factors there, but it was interesting because I think I do agree. I think playing in June was weird. I think the balanced schedule will kind of chill out the rivalry a little bit because you just don't see them as often. And honestly, I think probably everybody's indifferent to both these teams right now because you look at the Rays have that personality. Mm-hmm. Like Randy Arozarena, I love watching him, but I would want to punch him in the throat if he's doing that against my team.
He's baseball's Brad Marchand.
Yeah, I mean he's one of those guys like. He's energy, he's flamboyant, and he makes you crazy. And he's the reason that people start to hate the Rays because of that personality, and the team takes it on. And it's very different.
This is probably, this could come back to really bite me and be like, that is just a dumb hot take. I honestly, Randy Arozarena to me, he's awesome. And he's fun and electric and all this. I see Randy Arozarena and I just see Yasiel Puig 2.0. I see a guy who
Yep.
like
Yep.
locker room, like, dude, it's a long season, man. Baseball's such a long season, and it's like, you know, you're not going to win 130 games every year. And it's like when
Right.
you're winning, it's all great. Like him doing everything's great when you're winning because like it covers up a lot of sins.
Yep.
But like you start hitting skids, or maybe like a bat like Randy Arozarena goes cold in the postseason, which has never happened. But like maybe like who knows,
It could.
But like now locker rooms are just not going to put up with that shit for more than like 1 or 2 years. It's just
Agreed.
It's a lot draining on these guys. And now guys like Brandon Lowe, like they're going to have to answer questions about Randy Arozarena and his post. It's like guys don't want to do that when they're losing.
No, they
And
don't. You're right.
I see something like 3 years from now, where just like Randy Arozarena plays in like Chicago. It's like, wait, what? What happened to like? Because I see.
Yeah.
I see it's kind of a like a firework, right? It just burns bright, and then we got to get rid of it.
Out.
Then it's just like let's rebuild and figure this out. I don't know. I could be wrong. He could be a Tampa Bay Ray for the next 20 years and shoving it up my hoop. I don't know, but I see him as Yasiel Puig 2.0.
It's a great point because the minute he stops performing, people are going to grow tired of his antics. And honestly, last week we talked about teams we'd want to manage, and the reason I would not want to manage the Rays is I would not want the personalities. Randy Arozarena seems like a lot. Wander Franco seems like he can be a lot. You've got some quirky guys in that group. And Mitch makes the point of people hate the Rays because they're killing everybody. There is that too. They are destroying everybody. But I feel like that just like Brad Marchand, if the Bruins weren't winning, he'd annoy us. But because they're a competitive team, you accept it. Because
but let's even pull on that thread for a second here. I know we're kind of going a little off topic, but Boston Sports Radio is talking about should the Bruins look at trading Brad Marchand, right? I mean, Brad Marchand, Bruins have not won a cup since his rookie year in 2011. Brad Marchand's an all-star. Brad Marchand is knocking on the door. He's making a case for a Hall of Fame career and all this. He's perennial goal scorer, perennial this, and they're talking about that. I personally don't think they should, right? But
sure.
At the end of the day, these guys that have these outgoing big personalities that attract a lot of attention, and they turn on eyeballs and TV cameras, and they put asses in seats, and that's all well and good. But at the end of the day, you got to bring championships. Like, and if you don't bring championships, like at the end of the day, like what are we doing here? Now, again, I don't think Brad Marchand is the reason the Bruins didn't win the cup. So I'm not saying Brad Marchand should be traded, but I'm just saying, like, at the end of the day, you go year after year after year of continuing to fall short of the ultimate goal. The conversations are going to be had. I look at a guy like Randy Arozarena. It's just like, dude, like how much more of the major personality can you take without winning a championship? You got it. Teammates are just not going to put up with it anymore. It's a long season. 162 games is a lot to talk to the media after each and every game and answer questions about this guy. And it, like I said, it covers up a lot of sins when you're winning 8 out of 10 games. But man, you can't bank on that.
No. And a good example is Madison Bumgarner. The minute he didn't have his A stuff, San Francisco's like, done, see ya. Because he's a lot, and he's a lightning rod. Curt Schilling, Curt Schilling wore his welcome out everywhere, but the guy won big games. Those guys are only good when the team is good. When the team is not, you got to get rid of them because you just can't manage that personality when you lose them.
Yeah. All right. Well, that sparked a pretty good conversation, starting with games played at contract year. So love that.
Yeah, look at that, Nick.
It's exactly what I wanted. I wanted us to go on that for.
So, yeah, for those of you that wonder what Nick does on a Saturday night, he hangs out and looks up random stats like games played in the contract year.
I mean, baseball, man. I love it. I can't get enough of it. Okay.
I was the guy as a kid. Every year I got the Bill James Almanac, and I would literally read that thing cover to cover. I knew every stat there was. Yeah, I still love stats.
Yeah, it's amazing. All right, let's move on to the series from last week. So we kind of touched on Yankees and Sox. Sox took 2 out of 3 there. But Sox had lost 3 series before that, right? Like Cincinnati came in and took care of them. Well, I should say Spencer Steer took care of them.
I say Spencer Steer's a one-man wrecking crew.
And then, they go to New York,
Right.
and then they finally win that series. But yeah, it's
Drop 3 out of 4 to Tampa.
yep, they lost that one 3 out of 4 to Tampa. But yeah, so they play the Yankees. They played the Yankees last night, Sunday night, and then they're turning around and having Sunday night baseball on ESPN again next week in Fenway. So we haven't seen him for 60 games, and then we play him twice in a week.
Yeah, that's love MLB scheduling.
But I mean, with like we said, a balance schedule, it probably has to work out that way or some sort of like that. But yeah, here's my Diamondbacks minute for the week. They swept their road trip and now lead the NL West by 3.5 games.
Yep.
They're looking good. They're pitching the ball. They're hitting the ball. They're running all over the place. They're never out
aggressive.
of a game. It's so
They're aggressive. They take it to you. Right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They put you on your heels, whether it's aggressive pitching, aggressive base running, aggressive in the zone. They don't extend the zone at the plate much, but they're very aggressive with balls in the zone. Like they just take it to you. And there's no easy innings. There's no easy at bat. Like it's a team that, like, I don't know, man. You probably look at just like, God damn, I just don't want to play them anymore. Like I just don't want to play. It's not
just
easy.
Annoy you.
Yeah, they're just.
Dude,
I'm happy for Lovello, man. I'm happy for him.
So
I think he's fantastic. I've been very open about my pick for manager of the year, so I'm thrilled that they're doing this. And I think he's a legitimate candidate. He's got to be leading the National League right now. He's got to be.
Yeah, he's such a good baseball guy. Like he really is. He's just such a good baseball guy. I remember the good old days when he was on the bench with Tito here in Boston, and players loved him. Tons of respect across the league. It's good to see him down there. And you're right. The thing I love about the Diamondbacks is like you throw any of them and get me over fastball, they will ambush you. They are aggressive in the zone. They attack everything. They don't get up there and get cheated. They don't extend the zone. They play really good defense. They pitch the ball well, like they do, and they run. Like they do a little bit of everything. They can beat you in so many ways.
They're never out of game. I know it's the Detroit Tigers, but they were down by 2 in the top of the 9th, and they came back and won by 2. They scored 4 in the top of the 9th and then sweep the series.
All with 2 outs too.
Yeah. I mean, it's just they're never out of it. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. is the leading vote getter in left field for the NL right now. He's been on a tear. Ketel Marte continues. Corbin Carroll he's definitely leading the Rookie of the Year ballots right now for sure. I mean, the team's deep too. Their lineup's good. Evan Longoria comes off the bench. He's hit like 8 home runs. I mean, he's resurging there. It's insane.
Gurriel left Toronto because he was the odd man out, and he's gone to Arizona and lit the world on fire.
Yep.
It's great. I mean, they're a fun team because they're a team who they have just enough of a veteran presence. Guys like Gurriel, guys like Longoria coming off the bench. Merrill Kelly, I would even look at it as a kind of a veteran in that sense. I mean, I know he's not, up there in age, but he's thrown, he's been in the league a little bit. And it's like they have just enough experience and enough kind of veteran guys to keep them grounded to, hey, it's a long season, right? Let's just keep grinding one day at a time. It's a long season. But then they're just young enough and just kind of young and dumb enough to just not know that they're not supposed to be this good this early. Like they're a year, 2 years ahead of where they're supposed to be this late in June, or this late in the season, I should say. But like they're just too young and dumb to really know that they're not supposed to be this good yet, and they're riding it. So it's an interesting mix. I'm not going to lie. I didn't have them 3 games up in division at this point in the season.
No.
I thought they were going to be scrapping and clawing their way to maybe one of the final wild card spots. But I mean, shit, man. I mean, this is impressive, and they're definitely a team that we talk about teams and say a lot that they're fun to watch, but Arizona is definitely one of them. Like they're definitely a team that's like, hey, man, if you have an opportunity to tune in and watch them play, I would highly recommend because you're going to enjoy yourself.
Yep. Mitch kind of stole my thunder for later in the show, but we'll mention it now. How about the A's finally getting their first series sweep this season? Not only did they get the series sweep, they swept the Brewers and knocked them out of first place of the NL Central. Your Pittsburgh Pirates are now in first place in the NL Central. My goodness. Talk about a team Talk about a team that we weren't even thinking about. It's all set, Mitch. I'm just speed bagging your nuts, pulling your leg, yanking your chain. It's all good. So, but I mean, Pittsburgh Pirates weren't on anybody's radar, and here they are sitting in first place in the NL Central. Cardinals are -4-72. They're terrible. They lost some brutal games this weekend to the Reds.
Yeah,
Brutal.
Pittsburgh turned it around, and St. Louis took that hot streak and just flushed it.
God, and they are
funny,
playing
do you remember
brutal baseball. Like, I mean, not good at all.
Remember we said in May, about maybe 3-4 weeks ago, about Pittsburgh, we said there's going to be a point, and I was buying into Pittsburgh. You guys were kind of not bought in yet on them this year, and I did with my asterisk, if you remember. Yep. And then the asterisk was because they were not winning fluky games. They were winning games the right way. They were pitching well. They were hitting. They had great bullpen. They were getting great. Bednar was awesome out of the pen closing games. They were doing things that good teams did in order to win baseball games. And we said they're going to hit a skid, right? Like, that's just how baseball works. Like, you're going to go through a losing streak, and how do they come out of it? And boy, have they come out of it. And I'm doubling down now. I am in on the Pittsburgh Pirates. I am in on them.
Yeah.
I'm in on Pittsburgh, man. It's the National League is going to be tough because you have teams like, the Brewers aren't going away. The Brewers are a good baseball team, and you're going to have to scratch and claw with them just to win the division. And then, you're going to get into the postseason, and the fun teams like Arizona, but the Dodgers are the Dodgers, right? Like, there's teams in the National League, the Braves. I mean, like, there's teams in the National League you're going to have to get through. So, I'm not necessarily saying I'm buying in on them like winning the chip, but I'm buying in on them being the real deal, fighting for the division the whole way, and maybe even making some noise in the postseason, depending on how the seedings work out. Because they're legit. I think they're a good baseball team. They're a good baseball team.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, like, I think that was one of my points. It was like, depending on how they can come out of a losing streak will definitely depend on their season path. I wasn't high on them. I thought it was kind of like maybe a fluky start, and then we got to see them play live, and they kind of coughed that game up late. And then that was the start of that was the start of their skid. They were like 14 out of 18 they lost.
Yeah, they lost like 14 out of 18 one point. Like, they were in a tailspin for a while.
Yeah, they finally turned it around.
Yeah, and they're and they are benefiting from a much weaker NL Central than expected. It was expected that Milwaukee and St. Louis would battle. St. Louis is a hot mess. Milwaukee cannot score runs. That team is offensively handicapped. They've lost 4 straight. St. Louis has lost 7 of their last 10, and Pittsburgh's been able to take 7 out of their last 10 to come out of that tailspin and take first place. So, as we've said all along, Pittsburgh's going to fight till the end. They'll be in this till the end. They're definitely the beneficiary of a weak Central, but Milwaukee could turn it around and come back to life. But Pittsburgh, they don't lose bad games. Like, they just don't. They're in most everything. Even when they lost 14 out of 18, they weren't getting their heads pounded, and they're losing close games. And if you're in them, you've got a chance to win them.
And I'm not so sure that the Cincinnati Reds don't come up and knock the Brewers down to third.
They could.
They're playing good baseball right now too, and they just got a shot in the arm with De La Cruz, like we talked about earlier.
Yep.
And the Reds again are performing a couple years, as Sean said, with the Diamondbacks, a couple years above where they should be. And that team is young.
Yep.
They're gonna be here to stay for a while if they can keep that core together.
I'm not fully bought in on the Reds just yet, simply because I think those 3 big pitchers are just not quite there and consistent enough. With Hunter Green and Ashcroft, and the third one's escaping me here.
Lodolo.
Thank you. They're good. They're very, very good. Yeah. And each one of those 3 has an opportunity at any point in time to really get out there and shove, but they're just not doing it consistently enough. So I think they'll be in games, and I think that talent-wise, they're there. I just think they need those guys to be a little bit more consistent and be kind of the big 3 that they're probably going to be in the next couple of years. So I wouldn't fully buy into the Reds yet this year, but stranger things have happened, I guess. But I'll take Pittsburgh over Cincinnati for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing too with Pittsburgh is they've won 7 of their last 10, but they've drawn St. Louis, Oakland, and a Mets team that's been really scuffling. So again, like this balanced schedule makes it really interesting because you hit these patches where you're facing good teams and it's a slog, and then you get some softness and you come back, and it's hard because you don't have the concentration of that schedule in the division. So you're going to have a lot of these roller coaster rides where you're going to have 2 weeks where you go through a grinder, and then a week or two where you've got some powder puffs come to town and you can make up some ground. So,
Yeah.
and that's probably exactly what Pittsburgh needed. They went 3 weeks where they're playing nobody but good teams, and they needed a week or two where they can go just beat up on some teams that are in the basement to get things righted without the pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other like big series this week that you guys tuned into? Rays, Texas, Rays and Rangers.
I
Rays
did
kinda-
a little bit. I didn't watch as much of that as I wanted to.
The Rays kind
so
of
it's
went
more
in and
just kind
took.
of
They took care
checking
of business.
scores.
Yeah, they just
Yeah.
took care of business
Yeah.
in there.
It doesn't matter who you are. The Rays just come in and rip on you.
I mean, Nate Eovaldi
I'll tell
went
you this,
another
though.
6 or 7 innings and still ended up losing.
And
that
even
ball.
with that being said, man, the Texas Rangers, I think I saw it today. The Texas Rangers have the best record in baseball since DeGrom went out.
Yep.
Like so,
They do. They've been lights out.
So you take the Rays series out of it, and that team, the record's even better.
Right.
So, the Rays they're just gross this year. I mean,
It's just not right.
But I'll tell you, man, this has, and I know it's early, it's only June. The way that the Rays are dominating baseball right now has just Boston Bruins vibes. It's like, dude, at this point, like if you don't win the World Series, it's not just a lost season. It's like an epic meltdown failure.
Yep.
Like with the way that they're just running through every single team that gets in front of them is ridiculous.
Yep.
Yep.
Agree. How about
I found myself catching some Marlins games too, just to watch Arise, because that dude does not get out. And when he does, it's because he hits like a liner right at somebody. Like,
have you seen his StatCast numbers though?
Oh, any stat you put up with him right now is disgusting. He's got more multi-hit games and Ks. No matter how you look at it.
No. But I mean, like the like his hard hit percentage is in like the 9th percentile.
No, I haven't seen that.
His barrel rate is in like the 21st percentile. Like he doesn't hit any ball hard, but he just finds ways to get it in areas where defenders aren't. So he's just I'm not even saying it's a fluke. It's crazy that you'd think that a guy that has that many hits would just have a lot more barrel balls. He just doesn't. His hands are just so good, and his ability to keep the bat in the zone is so good. He doesn't need to get the barrel on it. If the bat gets on the ball, he finds a way to just put it where you want. It's incredible.
Well, and a great example of that was, I want to say it was on Saturday, maybe against the White Sox. It was like a 3-2 count. He must have fouled off 2 or 3 balls, and then he gets one that's like letter high, kind of tailing away, and he literally just kind of like sticks the bat out and flicks it over the third baseman's head and drops it into left field. Like, I was like, that's an almost impossible pitch to hit, and he just like dumps it over the guy's head for a base
it's like
hit.
Wade Boggs. It's like what Wade Boggs used to do for so long.
Just
it's
place
like,
it.
You can't get them out.
It's like, what the hell? Like, that was a good pitch. That was a put away pitch, and he literally just like reached out and flicked it over the guy's head and gets a base hit out of it. Yeah, it's annoying. Just annoying. He just places it out there. Like he could literally. It's almost like he stands and he's like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna drop it over there."
Right.
Well, he's only hitting 397 right now. Bomb.
He's been on a slump. Yeah, he's come down from 401.
Yeah, he went 2 for 4 last night, and his average went down. It's like it's crazy. It's just crazy.
The guy
he didn't really, but like, I mean, it's crazy.
And what's incredible is the guy's got. So let's see, he's got 91 hits on the season, 15 doubles, a triple, and a home run. So only 17 extra base hits. The guy hits an insane amount of singles, like just an insane amount of singles.
He's 91 for 227. That's crazy.
Yep. Yeah, just an insane amount of singles. He just ground ball up the middle. Liner to left, bloop to right. Just an insane amount of singles.
Sickening.
Well, and the thing too is like that's not a guy you're afraid to pitch to either. Like, yeah, he might hit almost 400, but like he's not gonna hurt you. He's gonna.
All right, you ready?
He's gonna hit a single.
You ready for these? All right.
So you got him. Go.
Luis Arraez. His average exit velocity, 31 percentile. His max exit velocity, 7 percentile. His hard hit percentage, 2 percentile. His barrel percentage, 2 percentile. And his walk percentage, 35th percentile. So he doesn't even walk a lot.
Oh my
But
God.
he is just absolutely incredibly ridiculously good at just putting the bat on the ball. It's crazy.
It's nuts.
I mean, the man
And,
has
you know,
91 hits, and he's in the 2nd percentile in barrel percentage. Christian
I wonder how that
Arroyo.
would.
Christian Arroyo has more hard hit balls than Luis Ariz.
That's
And
amazing.
Christian Arroyo stinks this year. And he has more hard hit balls than Luis Ariz.
Well, and I feel like the right comparison to Arise is a guy like Tony Gwynn. Tony Gwynn did not get a lot of extra base hits. Got in 20 seasons, he's got 135 career home runs, like 543 doubles and 3,000 hits. So 3,100 hits, 600. He's got like 750 hits that were extra bases. Everything else was a single.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But Tony Gwynn just put the bat on the ball every freaking time, and just dumped it into the outfield.
Mitch makes a good point. He's like, unfortunately, that doesn't matter in today's game. Because everyone's trying to go yard. It's like the mid-range shot in basketball, right? It's becoming a lost art.
Yeah, Arise is Tony Gwynn.
Yeah.
Arise is Tony Gwynn. Tony Gwynn did not hit the ball hard. He did not hit for a lot of power. He did not get many extra base hits, but he was always on base and wore you out with singles.
Yeah, I think more people, and I'm not trying to take anything away from Luis Ariz, because what he's doing is so incredibly impressive, because the pitchers in today's game have just, each and every one seems to have just 3 or 4 different out pitches. So his ability to not just put the bat on the ball and not strike out, but his ability to just serve it everywhere, foul pole to foul pole, is really impressive. So, Luis Ariz don't just grow on trees. Like, you're not just, those guys are incredibly hard to find. Mm-hmm. I agree with Mitch, though. I wish, and we've talked about it before, I wish players would just lean into be who you are. Like, if you're a contact slap hitter, like, just be that guy. Like, lean into it.
Right.
Like, be the Wade Boggs that's just going to, average 9 pitches in at bat for a season. Like, just be that. Be that itch in the ball bag that's just hard to get out. You're just fouling everything off, and then you find a way to get on base. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just like those guys don't get the money, and everyone wants to get paid. So it's like, oh, home runs, chicks take the long ball. And I get it, but, like, we're not all Aaron Judge. Like, we're not all, Francisco Lindors. Like, it's okay. Like, be the guy that hits high average and gets on base. And, I hope a guy like Luis Ariz, I hope he can stay healthy. I hope he can do kind of the 400 thing throughout the season, because I think it would be great for the game of baseball to have a guy like him kind of chase that milestone for an entire season and be right there and have eyeballs and be, people are talking about it, and it's on ESPN, and MLB Network leads off every segment with Luis Ariz's chase for 400. Like, those are the kinds of things that, like, are going to get those types of hitters back into the game consistently. So I hope he can do it, because for anything other than just, like, it'd be awesome to watch. I think it would be good for the game overall, because there are guys out there that can do it. Luis Ariz isn't the only one. And I wish more people would lean into it, because, I mean, shit, man, I'll watch good hitting any day. And he's just a good hitter. He's just a good hitter.
Yeah. So a cool stat. So in the last week, Luis Ariz has out-hit the Minnesota Twins, where he came from. He out-hit the team over the last week.
Jesus.
Incredible.
He out-hit the entire Twins lineup over the last week.
That's silly.
And the Twins are sitting there going, Pablo Lopez hasn't been great for them. The Twins are sitting there watching this guy hit 390 something, and they can't score runs to save their lives.
Crazy. All right. Let's move on to matchups for next week. What do we got coming down the pipe here? I see a couple right off the top. Blue Jays, Orioles. Subway Series, Yankees, Mets.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
the Mets
Blue-
are a mess right now. They've lost 8 of their last 10. Like that team is spinning.
Yeah, but it's still the Subway Series.
It is. It'll still be fun. It's just it's a shame the Mets aren't playing better. So it's a fun series.
Yeah,
Yeah, the Blue Jays are kind of that team for me. They're just.
I agree.
I've had to take a step away from watching them.
Oh,
I get
100%.
annoyed and I get frustrated, and it's just the team's too good. The players are too good. The team is too talented. They should be better. I know Manoah we're going to get to. Like he has just been a disappointment until he got sent down. Like I had to take a step away.
I'm with you. I'm with
The
you.
Blue Jays and I are sleeping in separate bedrooms for a little while, and we're going to work on it. And but I can't do Blue Jays right now.
Yeah,
No.
That's completely fair. That's a fair.
I'm in the same boat. I was trying to watch the Padres a bunch. I can't. I was to Toronto. I cannot watch them either. I can't watch the Phillies. Same reason. Like another team that is really talented and cannot, for the life of them, put together a complete game.
Dude, they still can't even catch a ball. I mean,
my goodness, it's horrendous.
their outfield defense is the worst I've ever seen in my life. It's bad.
Well, and no offense to Shawnee here, but the Mets, they've been atrocious. Like this is a team that's spending $1 billion this year, and I don't think right now they've lost 8 of their last 10. They're in 4th place in the division. 4
Fourth
games
place,
under 500. They've been outscored. Like that team is a mess.
And it's hard because out of the 8 out of the 10 that they've lost, I think 3 of them have been blown leads after the 7th. So it's like Jesus. Yeah. I mean, so not like you're losing and then you're coming back and you're getting a lead and then you're blowing another game. Like they've been really tough, really tough.
Yeah, I mean. It's been tough, and that was another team that I was really high on, and I can't watch them either. I find it frustrating.
Yeah. We got Angels and Rangers.
The Angels are surprising me that they're still hanging around.
But this was about the same time last year we were still talking about them, and then they just went.
For who?
The Angels.
The Angels.
Like they were like 2nd, 3rd place. They were going up and down in the division, and then after mid-June, they just.
Yeah, I feel like the difference this year is that those young guys that kind of tailed off kind of in the summer last year are still hitting. But they're a team that, I mean, Trout continues to put up numbers. Ohtani's putting up numbers, and then if you can get a couple other guys to hit now and then, they'll be okay.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I just kind of did a quick look at this upcoming week, and it's not much for me as far as like series I'm fully into. The only one, I mean, end of this Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so this upcoming weekend, we got Pirates Brewers, which is going to be good. I mean, that'll be a good one.
Yep.
But up until the weekend, there's really not much that I'm like itching to get to. We'll just kind of see where the mood takes me each night, but there's nothing I'm really tied to. Until Pirates Brewers Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I think will be a good series.
I feel the same way. It's a lot of lopsided matchups. The one I thought was interesting was Cleveland at Arizona. I like Cleveland. I feel like that's a team that's trying to find their way. Arizona, 2 young teams, young talent. They do a lot. That one might just be fun to watch. But I'm with you, Sean. When I look at last week's schedule was full of great matchups. This week I'm just kind of like it's a random smattering of matchups and a lot of lopsided things, a lot of teams that just aren't exciting to watch. San Francisco at LA. That would normally be a good matchup, but like LA's struggling. San Francisco is trying to find their footing. Like it just isn't the same.
Yeah, that Pirates Brewers one I think is going to be the key matchup. Do the Pirates give up their lead or do they stretch it out? So we'll see. But
and a chance for the Brewers to show that like they've actually got something because that team has teased us for 3 years now with all that pitching depth, and they just can't do it. They cannot get over the hump.
No, they cannot.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see too how the I'm sure we could do the math if we wanted to, but we could just wait for the weekend. But to see what the pitching matchup shakes out as, we talked about, Milwaukee having a hard time scoring runs. Pittsburgh starting pitchers can shove. And if you get the right matchup walking into Milwaukee, Pittsburgh could go in and win 2 out of 3, maybe even sweep, depending on how that pitching matchup works out. And I'll tell you, they take 2 out of 3 or even 3 out of 3. That is a major statement for that division at this point in the season. So that's going to be, I think, a key series.
I think you look at those teams on paper, they're very evenly matched. The only benefit the Brewers have is experience. That's really it. But what's that experience worth when they haven't been able to get it done?
Sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to the rounding third question, which I threw out. What was or is the worst injury you've seen during an MLB game? We'll start with some of our viewers' comments. Nick Fanning saying any pitcher getting it right back to the head is immediately horrifying.
Yeah.
But the one that sticks out, although not in MLB, is Tyler Zombro of the Durham Bulls. I remember, if you guys remember that last year, he took one right off the beam, like really bad. I believe he had a near seizure after the hit. So it's super scary, like anything right back. John Flanders said the lefty from the Devil Rays that broke his arm mid-pitch. Who was that? That was, I think we were just
say it again.
The lefty from the Rays that broke his arm.
Oh, Tony Saunders. Yeah, that's mine. Yeah, that was nasty.
So I commented there was a pitcher back in the 80s, Dave Trevecki. He had bone cancer in his left arm and he didn't know. And he was pitching and broke his arm. He goes in, gets the cancer treatment, comes back and is pitching again, breaks it a second time in mid-pitch.
Oh, God.
And that's how he knew the cancer was back. But that's a book. It's called Comeback. It's pretty good. It's a little religious for my taste, but the story behind like what happened on the field and behind the scenes was insane. Doug Somer said Mike Cameron and Carlos Beltran colliding when they're both going headfirst on a dive to try to catch the ball.
That's right. That's right. That's a good pull, Doug. That's right.
That's a good one.
That
was awful.
Henry LaRose said Posey breaking his leg in the collision at home. And then Mitch, that has been commenting tonight, also said that collision caused so much more than that. One of the grossest things I've seen in general. He grew up around football and loved watching big hits, but that left his stomach in knots seeing that. And then Jim Britt said Matt Clement taking the line drive to the head. That guy was never the same after that.
That one was mine. That was bad.
Yep.
That was like a bad one. I mean, that ball, that hit him square. That ball ricocheted so high, like it went over shortstop into like shallow left field.
Yeah.
Like that hit him square.
Yeah.
That was a bad one. That was mine. That was a bad one.
Yeah, I have two. I'll go. Jason Kendall running down the first baseline and he like twists his ankle on first base and his shin bone literally just shoots out the side of his foot. That was pretty gruesome. And then Jorge Posada was sliding into second base to break up a double play. The shortstop comes across the bag, throws it like sidearm and drills Posada square in the face. And you just see his face literally like explode from behind. Like it was just crazy.
So bad.
I can't even imagine from like point blank range, taking like an 80-mile-an-hour fastball right from a guy's hand, like straight to the dome, straight to the face. Crazy.
Oh, that just sounds awful.
Yeah. Well, what's yours, Harrison?
So my two were, number one was Tony Saunders breaking his arm. I remember that vividly, watching him let that pitch go. It just goes this way. He crumbles to the ground because you watch his arm like twist. It was gross. And then Bryce Flory getting that comebacker where he's like bleeding all over the place. And that was pretty hideous.
Yeah. And that knocked him out of the game for good. But
that was it. I never came back.
I remember Sports Illustrated coming out that next week or month, however, and they showed like they had a hand-drawn like diagram of all the bones that he broke around and showed like all the fractures and stuff that like your eye socket's made to absorb that. But to that extreme, like cheekbone, like all the way back, like man, it was brutal.
Was gnarly.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. I'm surprised. Like I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often.
Right.
I mean
Right.
I mean, I'm glad it doesn't. I'm not. I don't want it. I'm just. The amount of pitches that are thrown in a season overall in the course of Major League Baseball. Like
Right.
I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often.
Yeah.
But man, the unlucky guys that it happens to, man, they're awful.
That one with Damian Jackson and Johnny Damon, and was it against Oakland in the playoffs? They were like going back, and Johnny Damon was coming in, and Damon had to get carted off. It was like a little blooper behind left center.
Yeah.
Behind
shortstop. I mean, that one was a pretty bad one. Yeah, crazy.
Nick Johnson breaking his leg.
I don't know about that one.
When he was sliding into the outfield, collided with the right fielder, and broke his leg when he was playing first base.
Ugh.
That was one I forgot about.
Man, Nick Johnson.
He was another punchable face for the Yankees. Nick Johnson.
He was one of
that
those
was
guys
another
who just
punchable face,
Yeah.
and he wasn't like good.
No, but he's a talker.
It didn't really matter. I didn't hate him
Nick
for the
Johnson,
things he did on the field. He was just such a punchable face.
No, Nick Johnson was like the poor man's Kyle Schwarber back in the day. Like, he did some of the stuff Schwarber did, but he wanted you to believe he was a lot better than he was.
Yeah. All right. Now that we've all got our stomachs turned there, let's move on to heading home, where we're going to wrap up some of our other weekly news. And we'll start right from the top with Alek Manoah. Alek Manoah gets pulled after 1/3 of an inning, gave up 7 earned runs, was it? 6 runs. 1/3 of an inning, 6 runs, and a loss to the Astros. He was the 2022 American League Cy Young finalist.
Yep.
And he got optioned down. He's 1-7 with a 6.36 ERA and 13 starts this season. He didn't just get optioned down. He got optioned down to like rookie ball.
Well,
down.
no, hold on, Nick. Isn't that like AAA? Isn't it like the same thing?
It's the same exact thing. Minors is the minors. My God, dude.
Nick got into a Facebook battle with somebody who was trying to convince him that AAA, AA, and rookie ball were like all the same thing. So it doesn't matter where you get option to; it's all the same.
I mean, I think in theory, it would depend. Like, I don't. Let me just get out in front of this. I don't agree with that. Like, I think.
Okay,
thank you.
I think there is most definitely a difference between the levels of minor league.
Yeah.
I would be interested to hear the explanation as to why it was that particular level versus maybe just AA.
See,
like, what's the reasoning? Did they say?
I'm thinking it's a conditioning thing.
Right.
That's my guess. Because when you send somebody to like the Florida League, that's your, he's with Coach Pablo Sandoval down there trying to stay away from the buffet table and working on his conditioning in between his starts. That would be my guess. It's a diet implemented plan, something like that.
Yeah.
So that's what I was going to say. My guess is you are at a league where there's no travel. You're not getting on a bus and traveling series to series. You're not down there. We're not down there working on, hey, we need to get this guy to work on placing the slider. Like, his problem is placement with off-speed pitches. We got to get him as many innings as we can in the mind. Like, that's not what this is for. This is you going out doing your throwing program and then your conditioning. You're getting yourself in shape. You're getting yourself ready. I think his ass has been kicked by the pitch clock. I don't think there's any question about it.
Agreed.
And I think that's what this is about. So that's why I think he's down there. But I didn't know if I hadn't seen anything.
Yeah, so the Blue Jays broke down what he's going to be doing. So he's not on a team. He's not traveling with the team.
Yeah.
He got sent down to the player development complex in Dunedin. So he is literally at spring training again.
Dunedin. I thought you said like in done eating.
No, he's not done eating, I'm sure, but he's in Dunedin. So he's at the player development complex in Dunedin. And he's down there with Corey Popham and Paul Quantrill, who are the pitching coordinator and special assistant. So we all remember Paul Quantrill, the Q, when he was a pitcher for the Red Sox and the Jays. He's going to be down there for at least a couple of weeks, and he's working what they call the pitching lab, which is it's a basically they call it a long hallway. It's got a mound, plate, dozens of cameras from all angles to break down everything about his mechanics. What they believe is they have an opportunity to correct some issues with two things: his conditioning and his release. They're saying that he's having an issue with an inconsistent release point.
Yeah,
They've
because
been
he's
trying
tired.
to fix it.
Right.
Well, and then is exactly it. I've been saying from day one, like there's going to be pitchers that struggle with the pitch clock, and I think he's one of them. So he's been struggling with an inconsistent release point, and they've been trying to fix it in the bullpen, and they just can't get the fixes to stick because he goes out on the mound and goes right back into his bad habits. Partially because he probably goes back to how he's comfortable, partially because he's probably gassed after 5 pitches because he's not a small boy.
Dude, okay. I can think, and anybody that listens to this is probably agreeing. Like, you go out and you play a round of golf. By the time you get to the 18th hole, your swing is a mess because you're tired, because you've been out there for 5 hours and you're not a professional, right? Your mechanics are sloppy. The swing path starts getting a little bit loose, and you're hitting the ball all over the place because you're tired.
Yeah, so
that's what's happening with him. He's gassed.
The Blue Jays
why his release point is all over the place.
Yeah. The Blue Jays insist it's not a pitch clock issue.
Okay.
That his issue is strictly he's lost his release point, and because of that, his other mechanics have drifted to try to catch up. So that's the Blue Jays stance.
But it has absolutely nothing to do with the major change Major League Baseball made about fat guys having to move quicker. But it has nothing to do with conditioning. Though.
And the irony of it is that literally in one breath they say, well, he was one of baseball's slowest working starters last year. He does like time between pitches to get settled, but it's not a pitch clock problem. Don't worry, guys. It's not pitch clock related. So I mean, the reality of it is he's down there to work on his conditioning, get his mechanics back in shape, and they're probably going to work on getting him through the pitch clock. He's got to be able to get himself ready faster, and he's just not. So part of it's that he's rushing, part of it's that he's out of breath and he's out of shape. There's a lot of things going on here, but in reality, the guy, he cannot get through more than a few innings before he just implodes.
Yeah, or even if he throws more than 20 pitches in an inning, he's probably gassed.
Well, it's like we were talking about that after he pitched in Boston and got lit up. Like that guy was huffing and puffing in the 3rd inning. He threw 30-something pitches and was literally like holding hands on his knees at one point, trying to catch his breath.
Yeah. It's just
I look at conditioning and I don't necessarily think Alek Manoah needs to necessarily lose any weight. He's always pitched it. He's always been a big dude.
Right.
He's always been a hefty guy on the mound. I don't necessarily think he needs to go through a program where, he comes back looking like he just did the Biggest Loser. Like, I don't think he needs that.
Right.
What he needs to do, in my opinion, is he needs to make it so that his mechanics are consistent every time he throws. So he might have to tweak it. Like, he might have to say, you know what, maybe I can't be so stubborn. Like, maybe I can't have as high of a leg kick, or maybe I have to, maybe everything now is guys on base or no, whatever. Maybe it's from the stretch, right? Ohtani doesn't have a windup. You don't need windup.
A lot of pitchers are pitching from the stretch now.
The more movement you have, the more you're forcing your body to recover from. And a guy like him is just like, dude, the less the better. Like, let's just get in there and figure it out, because all he needs is his stuff is good. We saw it last year. There's a reason why he was a finalist. When he's on his game, he's very, very good. He keeps hitters off balance. He knows what he's doing. He's just got to get a consistent mechanics and a consistent release point. Whatever that is. I'm not a pitching coach in Major League Baseball. If they want to pay me, they know where to find me. But I'm not a pitching coach in Major League Baseball. But it's really not that difficult to figure out. He's all over the place with the mechanics because he's tired, and he needs to figure that out.
You took an aerobic exercise and made it anaerobic. You're like, okay, if you told me to walk to the mailbox, I can do that, no problem. You tell me to sprint to the mailbox, forget it. Like, I'm out of breath halfway across the parking lot. Like, it's kind of the same thing. Like, and I think you're right. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back pitching from the stretch. You take out wasted movement. Right. And pitchers pitch out of the stretch more than they pitch out of the windup. Let's be honest. So if you can just keep everything the same, whether runners are on base or whether not, then, you're cutting out extra movement that he doesn't need.
Yeah. And especially if you're talking about mechanics getting a little loose and getting a little sloppy and release points kind of varying throughout, like, if we cut down the amount of movement, that instantly cuts down the amount of places for us to get leaky.
Yeah.
right? So it's like let's just tie it all together and tighten up. And I don't know. I mean, it's easier said than done, obviously, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you look at his last 5 or 6 starts. I mean, he was averaging 4 innings. Like he couldn't
it's
get
not
past
good. You
the
can't
fifth.
have that. You can't have
He couldn't get out of the 5th inning. He was done. And he's been the victim of some bad defense and some unearned runs that have stretched innings out. But at the same time, like you have to be able to work through innings. And
Yeah.
in Houston, they basically said that his release point was so far off and so inconsistent. Like they felt like at that point it would only hurt him to continue to pitch at this level. He had to go down and just get some work in.
Crazy. Well, I hope he figures it out and finds his way back up here because, like you said, when he's on, he's fun to watch. Like
Very,
such
very
a
good.
big guy up there just dealing. Like he's got really good stuff. So,
but I think there's a lot of fans too that because of his attitude and the way he's kind of spoken about things in the past. I think there's some people that are kind of like, hey, here's some crow, enjoy it, Alec. Go down and get yourself figured out because here's your wake up call.
yeah. Adam Duvall activated from the 60-day IL, but Chris Sale is headed there with a stress reaction in his scapula. What a stress reaction means, I don't know. His shoulder flared up because of the jacked way he throws a baseball. I don't really know. But Adam Duvall coming back to the outfield spurs a little bit of a conversation because Duran's in a little bit of a skid, but he went 2 for 4 last night. I mean, where do we put Duvall?
You find a spot. I mean, I think, but it's a good problem to have. I think it
can't be worse.
It's a good problem to have because it's not. You're not taking a guy like Duvall and thrusting him back, playing every day, right. Middle of the lineup,
right?
Penciled in at center field. Like you're just, you're easing him back in. It was broken wrist. I mean, stuff like that is, when you're a guy that hits for power. I mean, it's not the easiest thing to come back from. So, you ease him in. You maybe give him some at bats off the bench. You give him a start here and there. You continue to get Duran at bats because Duran's a spark plug. Bit of a skid, but I mean, we're still talking about an impact player. And you saw that last night, right? I mean, that's a big ground out, ties the game.
Not only that leadoff single that he stretched into a double,
sure.
Love that.
Yeah, but I'm just talking like even when he's not he's still making an impact when he's making outs, right? Like we're not talking about last year's Duran where it's just like terrible at bats, swinging at 3 pitches, go take a seat. Like we're talking about impact at bats, so you want to keep that in the lineup as much as you can. So it's a good problem to have, and I trust Cora. I think Cora will make the right move and get the guys the right amount of playing time. And to me, the interesting part is also going to be when Yu Chang comes back, and Kike is starting to look a little bit better at the plate. He had the nice hit in the 10th last night. But man, defensively, it's just like he's such a liability, especially at short.
Yeah.
And Yu Chang for what he is, man, he is a glove. Like it's like when he's available, like I almost like was finding myself when he was healthy, like begging for Yu Chang to be in at short just because like he was making
he was good.
Like he can make plays defensively. He can do it defensively.
So when Chang comes back, who do you DFA and why is it Christian Arroyo?
Honestly, it's I don't know, but I don't think it's going to be Arroyo, man.
Those super sub guys are hard to find.
It's probably going to be Reyes. Mitch just said. I would say Reyes goes down.
Probably.
Well, you got
just because
you got Yang, you got Chang potentially coming back. You got Story who's on the horizon, who's going to come back as a DH. Like this lineup's going to tighten up quite a bit in terms of at bats that are available to people.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what they do.
Tapia was a casualty and really didn't do anything wrong.
Nope. But you got Duvall coming back and you got Story coming back. You only got so many DH spots, right? You're gonna have to put Duvall in the outfield because you can't put Story on the field. Like he's not throwing until.
And I will say the one guy who's not at jeopardy of losing any at bats on that team is Verdugo. That's the one guy who's not going to lose any at bats in this thing. Right. He can't.
No, I agree.
I mean, it's unfortunate that like Arroyo, Story, Reyes, Like they're all right-handed bats, and it's unfortunate. Like I would like for one of them to be, if not a left-handed bat, a switch hitter. That gives. I mean, Yu Chang's a switch hitter, isn't he?
No, I think he's a righty.
Is he just righty?
Yeah, I'm
So
pretty
we're
sure.
just littered with right-handed bats at the middle of the.
Oh,
Emmanuel Valdez is left-handed bat, but
yeah, you're not going to take Yoshida out of the lineup either, so it's got to be Duran. Duran's the third guy out.
Yeah, Yu Chang, he's righty only.
Yeah. So we're just littered with right-handed bats up in the middle of the field.
Got nothing but righties.
I mean, Emmanuel Valdez is a lefty.
Yeah.
When he's healthy.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's that's the one left-handed bat, but
those guys are all going down if they come back.
It's probably Reyes. Reyes is the odd man out. Unfortunately it's not going to be Arroyo, and I'm frustrated with Arroyo. I still think Arroyo is a better hitter than what we've seen this year. I think he's just off. He hasn't been able to find a rhythm, and then the injuries, like him. I mean, this is what he does. I mean, he just gets hurt. Like it's obligatory.
For a guy who doesn't play every day, he's hurt a lot.
It's incredible. I still think he's a better hitter. So I want to hold out hope that he can find a rhythm at the plate and be a little bit more impactful. But it's just way too many swings and misses. It's just
hit a home run tonight.
So frustrating. Oh, did he go yard tonight?
Yeah, hit a home run tonight.
It's just it's too many swings and misses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pete Alonso.
Go
ahead. What do you got?
I was just saying, to get to your point though, Nick, with Chang coming back, Story coming back, Arroyo could even be next. Like there could be another bite here where they need to find somebody to go. Yeah. I mean, I have to believe somebody gets hurt in the meantime and probably gets moved out that way, but there's a chance that maybe Arroyo goes in that second wave.
Possibly, yeah. Pete Alonso out 3 weeks with a bone bruise after getting hit by a pitch.
Yeah, that's a big blow to the Mets because they really need that bat. I mean, he literally there for most of May, he was literally all they had. Like if he didn't hit a 3-run home run late in the game, they didn't have a shot.
Yeah, Alonso is the Yankees' Aaron Judge. They don't score unless he's in the lineup.
Yeah, and he's been so good this year.
Another absolutely humongous bat that's on the 10-day IL is Yordan Alvarez with a strained oblique. So take him out of your fantasy lineups if you have him for at least 10 days.
What's funny is that team will still probably go 6-4, 7-3 while he's gone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because Jose Abreu's come to life.
Has he gone deep again or no?
No, but he's hitting. Yeah. Like he's, he hit the home run. He's had some doubles. He's had some big hits for them, but he's finally come to life.
He's up to 174. All right, we got Daniel Murphy, a name and a blast from the past. Just signed a minor league deal with the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. He hasn't seen the major since 2020, which is crazy. It seems like just the last playoff series, Daniel Murphy had that. Was it 6 games in a row with a home run in the playoffs? It was 6, right?
Against the Cubs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah, he had a run there. Holy cow.
He played for the Rockies in 2020, and then that was it. So we haven't seen him since. So kind of cool. See if the Angels call him up at any time. Kyle Hendricks for the Cubs loses a no-no in the 8th. And, typical Nick Arno fashion, I get the no-hitter alert on my phone. I go in and turn it on, turn my phone sideways to watch the game, and watch the double go off the wall. And I was like, so much for that. Sorry, buddy. Every time I tune into a no-hitter, the next batter gets a hit, breaks it up. But, yeah. My question is this. With the pitch clock, do we see a no-hitter this year?
I feel like somebody's bound to throw one. I feel like we get a couple every year. I feel like somebody's bound to throw one. I do think it's going to be harder because we're just not seeing pitchers go as deep into games as they had been because I do think they're more tired. But I feel like somebody's bound to throw one.
I would say probably, but I wouldn't be surprised if we don't. I mean, the past couple of years before the implementation of the pitch clock, we saw teams just don't put the same weight onto them that they did before. I think teams are happy to get these combined no-hitters. They're happy to give their pitchers 100, 105 pitches, and then if they're in the seventh, then we'll just go to the pen. I mean, everybody has specialists in the pen. Everybody has, most teams. I shouldn't say everybody, but for the point of the argument and the conversation, everybody has a strong back end of the bullpen that they're comfortable with. So it's like, you know what, we're not going to overstress our guys. We're not going to put extra pitches on we'll just take I just think teams don't value them the way that no hitters had been valued in the past. So I don't know. I bet we see a combined no hitter before we see a traditional no hitter.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, which we've seen more commonly than not. So.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew McCutchen got hit 2,000 last night.
What a great guy.
Pretty awesome. How many more years do you think he really plays?
I don't know. Maybe 1 or 2 this year, next year.
Yeah, I was going to say probably 2 max. I don't see him playing a whole lot longer. And for him, I don't think it's going to be necessarily that he can't. I mean, he's 36. He's not crazy. This is not Nelson Cruz, who's like 43. But I think for McCutchen, I think there's going to be, yeah, right. I think for McCutchen, I think he's the kind of guy who, when he doesn't think he can do it at a high level anymore, won't. I don't think he'll push through and play when he's not good anymore. So I'd probably say a couple.
Yeah, fair. And then this was kind of a cool story. Coco Montes for the Colorado Rockies hit a game-tying 2-run home run in the 8th inning in his major league debut. So ties the game late with a 2-run homer at Coors Field to send it to the 9th tied. So that was a pretty sweet moment. I can't even imagine making an MLB debut, let alone homering in my first game. I can't even imagine what that feeling is like.
I mean, imagine being Daniel Nava, first pitch you ever see, it's a grand slam.
Yeah, right.
I would just feel like,
that's a record that can never be broken, only tied. Never be broken.
Yep.
First pitch you see in Major League Baseball, you put it grand slam in the bullpen.
It's absolutely insane. Yeah. I can't imagine. I can't imagine that feeling. I mean,
it's so cool, though.
I can't even imagine just going into the clubhouse and seeing like a jersey with my last name on it, let alone stepping out on the field,
It's easy for me to visualize a jersey with my name on it because it's a pretty common last name.
Touche, sir. Touche. I get that feeling every time I see a jersey with Smith on the back.
Right.
But nice. All right. The last thing I have is mark your calendars, set your phone alarms for 9:40 tomorrow night. The Oakland A's reverse boycott is in full effect. So for those of you that don't know, the reverse boycott is the Oakland A's fans are trying to sell out the Oakland Coliseum, to really show the owner.
We're going to give this owner our money. We're going
to give him about $10 million tonight. You watch us. And we looked at tickets beforehand, and there's actually not many sections left. So it seems like this is going to go on. I just got an alert that Mark Kotsay said something about it. For those of you that don't know, Mark Kotsay is the actual manager for the Oakland A's, in case you didn't know.
Who?
All he said was, when the drummers show up tomorrow night, it's going to be exciting. That's all he said. I mean, it's going to be kind of cool to see if that place actually is packed and they open up the upper deck that hasn't been opened for, God, is it even safe up there? I don't even know. Has anybody sat up there since the Raiders played there? Probably not.
Say probably not. It's probably been that long at least.
I mean, I get the point of the reverse boycott and what the fans are trying to say, but this isn't on the owner. I don't know if the fans don't realize that, or if they do and they're just trying to say this in general. Like I don't know. I don't know.
The fans blame the owner, and they blame the owner for why the team's been so bad.
The fans,
Which is
there's only
true.
so much fans can do too. There's two actions that the fans can take, right? They can stop giving a shit. They could just completely turn themselves off and never care, never watch, never go to games, or they can show up in this reverse boycott and prove that they still love the team. They want the team to stay. They just want a new owner. Like there's only so much fans can do. I think the fans are smart enough to realize that it's a complicated issue, that it's more than just like pointing the finger at one guy. But they want him to sell. They want him to stay. And this is kind of their way of trying to express that there are still Oakland Athletics fans out there, and whether the league needs to hear it, whether the owner needs to hear it, whether the city officials in Oakland need to hear it, they feel like this is the easiest way for them to get their message out. I don't hate it. I mean, I'll probably tune in just to kind of see what it looks like because it's been a while. But we'll see.
It's going to be shocking to some of those players to have butts in the seats and have some stadium noise.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what it's going to be like for them. They're going to no clue what's going on. Are we in the right place?
Yeah, where are we?
But right now, I'm trying to find I saw something that a kid in the College World Series threw like 158 pitches. I was trying to figure
for Stanford,
That's what it
156.
156 pitches in a start, man.
Yeah, he had 16 Ks, complete game, 16 Ks.
There's no limit on the pitches they can throw?
No, that manager should be in jail, man. 156
I was just going to say, my God, there's no cap?
There's also a kid for Stanford. They're playing right now. There's a kid for Stanford, Eddie Park. And in the 3 games of the Super Regionals, he's seen 51 pitches, and he has 2 swings and misses.
Jeez.
The kid just is nothing but just a put the ball in play and foul ball machine. He just doesn't. It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible to watch him. He's seen 51 pitches. He has 2 swings and misses. 2.
That was like Stephen Kwan at the beginning of last year. Like
I know.
It was
unbelievable.
like 100 and something.
That's crazy.
I'm going to bring it up, even though it's softball and not baseball. Kaylee Mudge for Florida State Seminoles. I don't know if you saw that home run robbery. That was absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Like full extension up over the wall, timed it perfectly. The guy in the stands behind it was like, had a bead on it. And she's just like, yeah, sorry, buddy. Go back to eating your hot dog, and just brings it all the way back. Like that was, that was one of the best catches I've ever seen. It was insane. But
Mitch was asking what team had 9 home runs against Bama in the Super Regional. It was Wake Forest.
22
they
runs
absolutely
total.
slaughtered them. Slaughtered them.
But crazy.
The Super Regionals and all that for the college game have been a lot of fun. There's been some crazy games.
Yeah. I mean, Oregon was down like 8-0 against Oral Roberts and came back and walked it off and won 9-8. They scored like 9 unanswered in the 8th and 9th. It was crazy. Yeah,
there's nothing better than when you get into College World Series season and see these college teams giving it, going all out. It's a great brand of baseball.
All right, you guys got anything else for tonight?
Oh, I got stuff for you, Nick.
All right, let's hear it. Let's bring it.
So, players of the week.
Oh yeah,
we had Gunnar Henderson in the AL. This week he hit .526, 3 home runs, 6 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, and slugged over 1,000 in 5 games.
Is that good?
In the NL, it's your boy Corbin Carroll.
So 2 rookies, 1 player of the week this week.
Yeah, Carroll hit 500. He had a 2 home run game. He had 8 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, 542 OBP, 24 total bases in 5 games.
Is that good?
He was wreaking havoc.
That's all
right. So there's that. You've got the Mets actually signed Luke Voit to a minor league deal, trying to bring in some first base depth. They've got some fears that Alonso's injury may drag out and could impact him for longer than just the time he's on the IL. So Luke Voit has been added to see if he can still hit.
Dude, he's been on every team but the Red Sox this year.
Pretty much.
Crazy.
Pretty much. And he can still hit sometimes.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I think he hit his peak in 2020 when he led the league in home runs that shortened season, and he's just not been the same guy since.
No.
Trevor Story. So an update to Story. They're thinking he could be DHing sometime in July, and they're targeting clearing him to play shortstop sometime in August.
Okay.
So the belief is July is a DH, and then he'll get cleared sometime in August to play shortstop. Rehab is going well. They're going to start him off slow, but he is well ahead of schedule. He's healing from this much better than they expected.
Well, it wasn't a full-on Tommy John either, right? It was just
No,
like this.
it was that
sister surgery,
modified surgery. Sean Doolittle got it.
Yeah.
A number of guys have gotten it in the last few years, and everybody responds to it differently.
Yeah.
That's the only problem with this one is that, like Tommy John, you can set your clocks. It's like 14 months.
Unless you're Bryce Harper.
This one, right? This one is you just don't know.
Yeah.
So you also don't know if it fixes it either is the problem. But it looks like for Story, it's all good. And lastly, and this may or may not be a pitch clock situation, but Shohei Ohtani is dealing with more fatigue. The Angels are going to back him off to pitching every 6 days. They're going to give him extra rest around the All-Star break. They may limit some at bats. You may see him get more nights off. But his comment was, I am more tired than I have been in the past. His last couple starts have been sloppy for him. His ERA's gone up 1.5 points. He's now a point higher than he's been. So the Angels are backing his workload down for fear that if they don't, he'll end up getting hurt.
I think the pitch clock we're gonna probably early to mid August. We're going to start seeing the effects of the pitch clock and real pitcher fatigue, because you're asking pitchers that have used, like I kind of made the mailbox comparison and Sean made the golf comparison, like they've been walking when they've been able to pitch, and now they're asking, get the ball go. Like, you can't take a step back off the mound, take 2 breaths, gather yourself, get on the mound anymore. It's literally catch, I'm back, get the signal, and go.
What you're going to see too is I think you're going to see the injuries pile up.
Yep.
Quite a bit, not just arm injuries, but you're going to see obliques and backs and stuff, because it's guys are going to be stressing. And to go along with my golf analogy, and I'll take it a step further. You get on the 16th, 17th, 18th hole. I mean, like you're tired, right? So maybe you don't use your legs as much as you typically do, and you're putting a little bit more stress on your back, and you're putting a little bit more on your shoulders, and you're not. It's not the perfect swing because you're tired. And pitching is very much probably more lower body than upper body. I mean, like it is a full body workout. It's not just arm, it's not just elbow, it's not just shoulder, it's a full body thing. And if you're not conditioned properly, and I'm not talking conditioning going out and being able to run a marathon. Alek Manoah doesn't need to go run a half marathon, but it's conditioning in the sense that it's like the short bursts, like his ability to drive off the mound and then 9 seconds later drive off the mound again and not have to take 40 seconds to recover in between pitches. That's what he's got to work on.
Yeah.
Like that's what he's got to work on.
When you get tired, the form goes, you get sloppy, and that's what injuries happen. And so here's Shohei Ohtani raising his hand saying, "Yeah, guys, I'm tired. Like I am more tired than I've been in the past. I need some more time." They're gonna manage his workload a little better. His last couple starts haven't been great. He's been claiming he's getting tired in those starts. So, and we've been saying for weeks, as it gets hotter and you get deeper into the season, you're going to see pitchers that struggle with the pitch clock. And we're starting to see, Manoah was victim number 1 potentially. We've seen Scherzer battling it too.
Mm-hmm.
We've now we're seeing Ohtani come back and say, "Yeah, guys, I'm tired. Like this is where it's wearing on me."
Yeah.
So there's a lot more to come. And Sean, I think you're right. I think you're going to see guys that start popping up on the 10-day IL. And in some cases, it might just be an overuse thing. They need a break. But I do think you're going to see guys that are struggling with the pitch clock, that are going to need some extra rest, that are going to maybe go on the IL for a couple weeks to get a breather. The impact of the pitch clock is going to be big when you get into like August. And it's hot. These guys are 20 starts into the season. Like you're going to start to see these guys wear down.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
That's it.
That was a lot tonight. That was a great show.
Sure was.
All right. Thanks for chiming in and joining the conversation. keep your eyes out for more reels next week. We keep releasing them like 1 or 2 a day. The support's been great. So you can share, like those. But otherwise than that, just like, subscribe on YouTube and subscribe on Spotify. You can listen wherever you get your podcasts and all of that stuff. And we will see you next Monday at 8 p.m.
See ya.